Cool. We'll give it a couple of minutes to let other people join if there's anybody else tonight. But hey guys, I'm happy to have y'all tonight. I have some new painters. I have some old painters. So I'm really excited to have y'all. So I'll get right into it. I'm gonna walk you through setup a little bit here, and then you guys can start getting set up while I talk at you about all the different kinds of paint and what we're gonna be using tonight, okay? So this is gonna be our palette tonight. So I know some of you have kits from me, some of you have your own supplies, and some of you have ultimate kits. So this is the way I have set up my palette tonight. So those of you who picked up a kit from me, you have your paint in little tubs. I recommend getting like a plastic knife or a plastic spoon, or just like tapping the side of your little container on the side of your palette. Don't put all of your paint out. I would put, 75%, maybe 50% of your paint out, and then put your lids back on. That way, in case you cannot finish the painting tonight, you have paint left over to work on it again tomorrow. Or you just have paint left over that you can use for another painting. Or if you wanted to do 2 of these, or for some reason, that way you have a lot of paint left over, okay? Just grab the paint as you need it. I think that's the best way to go. Notice I have the biggest amount of green and blue, okay, and white. I always have a lot of white just because we're always mixing a lot of colors, right? I have a little bit of purple, red, yellow, tiny bit of black. Okay, we're hardly using black. In fact, I wouldn't even put your black on your palette. Don't even bother. There's no point. We're just going to be using the tiniest bit of black tonight. So don't even put it on your palette if you haven't already. Just let it be to the side. We're not using it for any color mixing at all. We're only going to be using it for our eye and a little bit on our beak. And if we do need it for color mixing, like I'm looking at some of these reds, then I'll tell you to grab a little bit of black. But likely we probably won't use it at all because you all know how I feel about using black paint to mix colors, right? So anyway, so I'll let you guys get your palette set up. Once again, I do it like a color wheel, okay? I like to have my warm colors together and my cool colors together. That way, when we start mixing, it just makes it really easy to do, okay? Also, I think I went over brushes with you guys. You should have a background brush, a nice wide background brush. This is a 1 inch, but 3/4 inch is fine, whatever you have. I have a size 8 flat, so if you have close to a size 8, depends on the brand, and I have a size 4 flat, okay? Remember, flats are our rectangle size brushes versus a round, which is my detail brush tonight. It's a size 1. Size 3 would be fine. Size 0 would be fine. Whatever you're comfortable with using that has a small rounded point is what you're going to need tonight, okay? So we have 4 brushes tonight. Super fun. I don't remember the last time we did a painting with 4 brushes. So this is going to be great. I'm going to show you all the painting here. I do recommend if you have an extra phone by you or iPad or something that you pull up this image. You go to the Humble Life store page and you can just scroll down, I think, a couple of posts and you can pull up our Rooster. That way you have it for reference tonight. I'll be going through everything, step by step, of course, but it is always nice just to have reference, okay, so that you can look at any time that you need to in case you missed a step or you just want to look at something a little bit more closely. Okay, oh, I think we lost some people here. I'll give them a minute to come back in before I explain too much more. You guys have all, looks like everybody here has all painted with me before, so you guys know the drill. I'm going to let you guys kind of get set up here and wait for Michelle and Kiri to get back on. Let's see if they come back on. I'll give them a minute. Check my Facebook, see if they're okay. Okay, so I'll keep going. You guys pretty much know how I set things up here. I have my canvas right in front of me. I've got my water And I've got my paper towel with my brushes right next to me, all right here. I'm right-handed, so I can just do everything right here. And then I have my palette right over here also, kind of just out to the side, okay? So you guys just set up however you're comfortable, whatever you need to do to make your space work for you. As we get painting too, it might evolve for you. So, okay. So as you guys know, also we are using acrylic paint tonight. If you have an ultimate paint kit, you've probably obviously used this kind of paint and you've experimented with it a bit before. I recommend tonight, for the sake of this class, since we're trying to get this painted within 2 hours, roughly, don't mix water with it. I know it's very tempting to dunk your brush in the jar and then swirl it around in your paint, but try not to do that tonight. That's gonna do 2 things. It's gonna make our paint extra runny and watery, which will make it take a longer time to dry. And we don't want that. We really want our layers to dry nice and quickly so that we can keep painting layers. The other thing is that our paint tonight, this brand is pretty transparent. It likes to go on really thin and with multiple layers. So you can apply as many layers as you need to get the richness and the fullness of the color, okay? So that's pretty important to remember also. Okay, all right, you guys. So I'm gonna give you guys just a minute to kind of just finish your palettes, get your paper towels, get all the things that you need. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Kiri. I can't. Okay. All right, cool. So just so you guys know real quick, I was just talking about our paint tonight. You guys, I know you haven't painted with me before, so just a quick reminder that this paint, it is pretty transparent, so don't mix water with it. I know the tendency is to grab water and swirl it in your paint, but just try to avoid doing that, okay? We're gonna be working this Rooster in a lot of layers, and so we want to put our paint on nice and thin and kind of quick, and it will dry, okay? Especially our background. Our background is really going to be it's going to be kind of tricky tonight because we want to get nice rich color, but we also are going to want it to dry quick. So that's going to be a fun game to play. All right, y'all. Let me give you guys just one more minute, okay, to get everything all set up. So just remember, you need your water cup, you need paper towels, okay? And like I said before, I have everything for me set up right here. I'll show you what my station looks like. I've got my canvas right in front of me, my water, everything, my paints right here, okay? Also too, remember you guys, you wanna put your canvas in front of you in portrait position. That is up and down versus, we're not doing landscape tonight, okay? We're doing portrait. So make sure it's in front of you the way you wanna paint it. Maybe you do want to paint in landscape position and do some things out to the side. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing, but I have painted the wrong thing before, or painted the right thing in the wrong composition before. So that was a little bit frustrating. Okay. All right, guys. Let's get started. I'm excited. I love this painting. I'm going to show it to you guys again. I think it's super fun. And I love teaching animals because they always come out so funky. Like everybody's personality really kind of shines through. And you get to see all of these different, in this case, roosters all lined up with all these different like looks. You know, some of them will be very regal and stoic and others will be like super goofy. So it's always really fun. Okay. All right. So once again, if you want to find this image and pull it up so that you have it near you on your phone or whatever it is, so that it's easy for you. Okay. All right, guys. So we're going to get started. We're going to start with our background, and then we're going to kind of work towards our middle ground and our foreground, which is going to be the rooster. So if you want a different color for your background, by all means, mix a different color. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to recommend that you add a little bit of white to your color. That's going to help with the opacity of the paint, okay? All right, so I'm going to start with my largest brush, okay, my background brush. Let me show you my palette. So I'm going to mix this really beautiful, rich green color. Okay, so if you want a different color, go for it. But this is how we do this. Okay, so you have green paint and it should be kind of right by your blue. I'm gonna mix these two together, but not a ton of blue. I want a little bit of blue in there just for richness. And of course, I'm gonna want a little bit of white. But really I'm gonna really focus on just a little bit of white. You see that? So I've got white, green. I'm gonna start blending those together. I'm gonna pull in a little bit of blue here, okay? I really am gonna want just a hint of white and really just a hint of blue. Okay, you guys see how that color is kind of coming in? It's really nice. Now it depends on what kind of painter you are, what kind of person you are really, what you want your background to be like. I like to leave my color marbled on the palette here. So what I mean by that is that I have a lot of different shades and hues here. I've got a little bit of blue coming through, a little bit of green. I've got different kinds of this turquoisey color, okay? It's not just one block color. If you're like me, I just like to start applying it and then I'm just gonna kind of see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna cover my whole canvas here. And it's up to you if you wanna be up and down, if you wanna be side to side, or if you just wanna be crazy, okay? Now, if you decide to go kind of crazy, I'm all about it. In fact, I think that's what I'm gonna do tonight. You wanna kind of apply maybe in X's. See how I'm just kind of going back and forth over myself like this, okay? Or just kind of crossing. You're gonna notice how transparent this paint really is, right? So just keep layering it on, but layer it on nice and thin, okay? You really wanna be thin for this first layer, okay? That's really important because we want this first layer to dry so that we can get our second layer on and move on with our painting, okay? The background, in this case, because it's just really one color, it's the least of our worries, okay? So I'm really just trying to get the paint on here. And of course, I want you to pay attention to your edges. So your top edge, all of this, your side edges, all the way around, all four of your edges, I want you to cover. That's just nice craftsmanship, okay? That way, when you're done, you can hang this painting up on the wall. You don't have to get it framed. You don't have to do anything fancy, okay? It's just done for you. All right, so I'm just working to cover my background, you guys. So y'all do the same thing. I'm just gonna do a nice, easy back and forth stroke for this first layer just to get coverage. On my second layer, maybe I'll do some hatching or some X's just to change up my texture of my background real quick, okay? But don't focus too much on it. We're just getting this color down. And it's okay if when you go back to your palette, you pick up a slightly different color. Not a big deal. I don't know if you can see on mine, but I've got some grassy greens all the way to some really pretty oceany blues. So you might have to just press your paintbrush down a little bit extra hard to really work the paint into the tooth of the canvas. That's the texture of the canvas. See, I'm just kind of really pushing and almost like swirling it around there. Okay. Honestly, with this brand, green is one of the most difficult colors to work with, I think. It's just so very transparent. It's just the weirdest thing, but it is what it is. And I think we've figured out how to work with it best, so. Okay, so I've got my canvas covered. I'm gonna go back and forth with my paintbrush like this without adding any paint to it. I'm slightly pressing down on my canvas, and what I'm doing is I'm wiping away any gobs or little goopy sections that I might have, and I'm really spreading it out. That's gonna help my canvas dry. I'm gonna mix a little more of this color because I've gotta do my edges, okay? So y'all take your time, get that first layer on there. Remember to try to keep it thin, spread it out. Okay, I'm gonna work on my edges now. They're definitely more turquoise than original. Okay, here we go, mix more green. There we go, it's better. I don't know if I mentioned it before, you guys, but I know I mentioned that I'm recording tonight. So if at any time you need to go and you don't get to finish your painting tonight, don't worry. Just send me a message and I'm more than happy to send you the recording. And then you can finish this whenever you get a chance, okay, at your own pace. It's always fun getting the recording. You can kind of stop and go however you want. You can take as long as you want. And you can pause my face on really awkward, weird words and stuff. You can make fun of me. Okay. Okay. So I have my edges done. The whole top of my canvas is covered. And look at how imperfect it is. You see how splotchy it is? See all those different, you see the canvas coming through. That's totally fine. In fact, that's great. That means you did, in fact, put on a nice thin layer. And I'm just gonna take my brush, like I mentioned before, without adding any more paint. I'm just kind of doing this like sweeping motion, okay? And that's picking up any gobs that I have and really just kind of evening out the canvas. Okay. All right, how are you guys doing on that first layer? Cool. Remember, it should look streaky, kind of funky. It shouldn't look solid. So while you guys are still working on your backgrounds, when we start working on our rooster, I'm just going to show you his body. He's made up of so many colors, okay? So feel free to really turn him into any color scheme you want. If you're more of a red person or you're more of a purple person, you know, put more color in that you enjoy looking at, maybe more purples and blues or whatever it is, turquoises, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put all the colors in like I have in the original painting, so I can teach that tonight. But if you don't like yellow, don't put in yellow. You know, if you're not, if you're trying to match your kitchen and you don't have any purple in your kitchen, you know, don't put in any purple. It's all good. Just put in colors that you really enjoy. Okay. Okay. I want you guys really to focus on getting your background dry. We're not going to worry about this second coat right now. We're actually going to go start putting in the body of our rooster next, okay? And then we'll start working that second layer in a little while. So I have not washed my brush, but I'm going to tell you to in a second. But what I am doing without adding any paint to it is I'm still kind of brushing the surface of my canvas. I'm really just wiping off that wet paint. Okay, I'm just lifting any gobs. I'm just barely touching the surface of the canvas. I'm not pressing hard, because you'll notice if you start pressing hard, you're literally gonna wipe the paint off the canvas. And that's not what you wanna do. You're just lightly sweeping the surface, okay? Lightly sweeping the surface. So when your canvas feels kind of tacky, like I can lightly brush my hand and I just get a tiny bit of paint on my fingers, I'm gonna put my brush in my water cup, just like this, and I'm just gonna leave it here, okay? Until we need it again. Okay. Let's see where I want you. All right, you guys. We're gonna move on to our rooster body. And it is okay if your background is just, it's even a little bit wet. It's not a big deal, because if the color gets picked up on the brush that we're about to use next and it starts to blend in a little bit, it doesn't really matter because we're painting a rainbow rooster. So you just add a little more rainbow to your feathers, right? Okay. So to begin this next part, we are going to be using our size 8 brush, our size 8 flat. So whatever size you have closest to this would be great. Okay, it's our largest brush besides our background brush. Okay, it's a size 8 flat. A 10 would be fine also. If you have a different brand than the Royal and Langnickel, then maybe you're using a 9 or a 7, I don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna show you my palette. Okay, it's a mess already, right? So we're gonna be using like a very light, and I call this brown right here a red brown. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of white, just a little, and just mix it right next to my red brown here. Okay, I'm just gonna let that be marbled. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be any particular color shade, you know, it's just red brown with white. Okay, you can see that right in there. And so is my brush marbled. You see that? Doesn't matter. We're just gonna use this to draw, okay, and kind of map out our rooster. Okay. All right, so to begin this part, I'm gonna bring you guys in nice and close, okay, so you can kind of see. We're gonna come down, find the middle of your canvas on the top here, and I would come down about 2, maybe even about 3 inches, okay? So just eyeball that, 2, maybe 3 inches, and give yourself just a little mark like so. You need enough room up here for the comb, okay? So just, you want a lot of space up there, okay? All right, now I'm gonna also say that these lines that we're about to draw can totally be changed. So I really want you to just take a leap of faith, and when I say draw a line, just draw the line and just see what happens, okay? You might be pleasantly impressed with yourself and surprised, okay? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna kind of shape in his head just a little bit. So I'm gonna just round that into a sad face, just a slight sad face, okay? I'm gonna come down, I might come up about 1, 2 inches right here, roughly. Maybe that's 3 inches, I don't know. You want about that much space, give or take, not a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna take this line and I'm gonna curve it down to that line. See how I did that? It's like an elongated S. Okay. All right, cool. So let's just pretend like this part's gonna kind of come down. This is gonna be the face of our rooster, okay? So I've got this more of a hook now. I'm gonna pick my brush up. I'm not making a mark, but I'm gonna come down a little bit here as if it's connected, okay? Maybe an inch or 2 down. I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna make my belly. And I'm coming down to the bottom of my canvas about an inch over. Okay, look at that. You got a rooster body. Good job. All right, I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna go in, I'm picking up white and red brown. I've got this very marbled paintbrush here. And I'm gonna use the thick side of my brush and the thin side of my brush. Do you see the difference in those lines? It's just by turning my brush to the side. When I turn my brush to the side, I get a thin brush stroke. When I keep it wide, I get that nice thick wide one, right? So thin, thick, okay? Anyway, I'm just gonna pick up white and red brown, and I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm gonna start feathering in this color. See how I'm being very streaky? I'm taking my brush and I'm just lightly touching the surface of the canvas and I'm lifting my wrist. So I'll do it from out here so you can see. And every time I go back to my palette, I'm either picking up white or red brown or a mixture of the two. It does not matter. Okay, and I'm just streaking in this color. I'm not allowing for too much of my green to show through. You see how thick that's kind of getting in there? A little green showing through, and that's totally fine. But I'm really just gonna start layering in this color. And you do wanna be fancy and wrap it around the side of your canvas as well. Okay, your rooster's body is gonna be wrapping around. Okay, so I'm just gonna fill this all in. And I'm turning my brush kind of whenever I want to use the thick side or the thin side. Just experiment with that. See how that feels. Go back and forth between thick and thin. Now, when you get to this front belly part, you want to follow this line that you've drawn and you want your feathers to start to match that line. So over here, we're going out, and over here, we're sort of circling in, right? Okay. You want to come up to that line. You don't want to be too dark, okay? You want this red brown to be really light. Okay, it's almost kind of pinkish, isn't it? It's almost kind of pink. You can let a little of that green come through, not a big deal. It's pretty thick, but a little green is still coming through. I'm gonna wrap around to the bottom here now. Okay. I'm gonna show you mine up close here so you can really see kind of what's going on. See all those different shades? That just comes from going back and forth to my palette. And every time I go to my palette, I'm picking up a slightly different color, whether it's just plain white and I'm just pushing it into that red brown, or whether I'm just picking up that solid red brown, okay? But you do want this to be nice and light, okay? Nice and light and not super thick. So you get real close, y'all. Can you see that green coming through? Let that happen, okay? Let that happen. Okay. Looks like a half-eaten pear. I'm gonna give you guys a minute to kind of finish this part up a little bit. This is just our underpainting, okay? This is just kind of letting us see what the body of our rooster looks like. So at this point too, you can kind of change this if you want to. If you want him to have a bigger belly, by all means, put in that big belly, okay? If you don't like this line back here, you can smooth it out, okay? You can adjust. And if you feel like you've gone too far one way or another, let it dry completely, okay? And then when we go back and we're gonna do another coat on our background here, you can just kind of take that green and just kind of chisel away at whatever part of your rooster you need to change, okay? Okay. So I'll show you where we're at and where we're going. I'm gonna go ahead just for the sake of, just so I can kind of see the finished shape. I just have a little bit of white, or maybe it's just super light version of that red brown. I'm just gonna continue this shape right here and fill it in. Okay, so I just have this shape continued. It's just gonna help me kind of just visualize, I think, a little bit better. Okay. So I just connected those lines that were here. When you're done with this part, go ahead, put this brush in your water. Now what we're gonna do is you're gonna want to get all the water out of your big background brush. Okay, so I just pull mine out of the water because I don't want to get my water super green. I'm just pulling it out of the water and I'm just gonna put it on my paper towel and just kind of sandwich that brush in the paper towel, and I'm gonna pull like so. That's gonna pull all the water out of my brush. Okay, so I'm left with a big, beautiful watercolor mark, right? Then I can go back to my color. And if you don't like your background color, now is the time to change it, okay? Keep it in the same family. If you don't like the green and you just wanna change the green, add more blue or whatever it is, now is the time to do that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mix a little bit more of my background color. Okay, add a little more white to it. It is very blue, I need more green. I'm just making a big mess on this palette. Okay, it is important to add just a little bit of white. Remember that for some reason, it just really helps this brand with opacity. Okay, all right, I'm okay with this color. This is pretty good for me. So now I'm just gonna show you this down here. I'm not gonna hold it up. I'm just gonna lean it so you can kind of see my shape, okay? I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna gently come around this shape. I'm using the side, the thin side of my brush. I'm just gonna come around, okay, and give a nice little area around my rooster, nice and painted, so that this area is nice and thick and opaque. And now I don't have to think about that anymore, right? There's like this little halo around my shape that's kind of protecting it. So now I can come back here and I can do crosses, hatches, I can give movement. You can stick to just bold, solid color if you want to. Whatever, however you want to do your background, you guys, go ahead and put on that second coat and you're going to see just how nice and bold and thick that second coat is. You can see the difference between this side of my canvas and this side of my canvas. It really doesn't take much, and it shouldn't take too super long for you to get that covered. Okay, don't forget about your edges. Okay, they're important. If you want kind of a textured background, you could go back to your paint palette and pick up a little bit of a lighter color, like mix a little bit more white with this, and you could just kind of do the motion like this where you just go back and forth, give us some nice texture in the background. Or just a nice, pretty solid color is nice too. Whatever you want to do, okay? Okay. So I got my background covered. Now I'm just gonna work on my edges. And by then, this part of my rooster will be pretty dry. Okay. Get my top edge. Just a reminder too, we will take a break at about 8 o'clock, give or take. We'll see where we're at 8 o'clock, which is in about 20 minutes. And it'll be like about a 5-minute break or so. Maybe longer if we need it and if we've covered a lot of ground. Okay, so you can run to the restroom or get another drink or a snack or whatever it is you need to do. Okay, so let's just get us 20 more minutes in. Okay. Okay, when you have your background done, you can go ahead and just put this brush in your water and let it live there for the rest of the night, okay? Do your best not to leave any brushes just sitting out to the side, leaning on your palette or on your paper towel that has paint on it. You don't want that paint to dry and get all crusty. We want our brushes to have nice long lives with beautiful bristles that have been well taken care of, okay? Brushes, thank you, and I thank you. The people that are going to use the brushes next, thank you. Okay, is everybody doing okay with their rooster body? Everybody's okay with their shape? If at any time during the class you're having an issue with shape or color mixing or anything like that, please feel free to unmute and just let me know what you need and we'll work through it together. Hold up your painting whenever you want also, and I can be an extra pair of eyes and help you with anything that way also, okay? Okay. Once your background is nice and solid, you're gonna wanna grab your size 8 flat again. So get that nice and clean whenever you're ready, okay? Get all the water off the bristles and especially this metal part. You wanna get all the water off that metal part of your brush, okay? So I'll show you our rooster again too, so you can get a good idea about where we're going next. You check out all those colors and his feathers. Okay. Okay. So let's start putting in some color. This is the fun part. This is where you can really make this rooster whoever you want him to be. Really give him some personality. So I'll show you my palette real quick. I'm with my size 8 brush, my flat. It's nice and clean. There's no water on the metal whatsoever. I'm just gonna take up a little bit of white, bring it over to my blue. I'm not necessarily making a light blue, right? I'm just making a more opaque, bold blue. See how it didn't really change the shade too much? Okay, it's still really nice and bold. Okay, that's what you want. I also just have a marbled brush. A little white, a little blue. Okay, all the things, right? So I'm gonna lay in some blue. Now I'm gonna go through blue, a little purple, a little yellow, and do the kind of the same thing with each of these colors. So once you kind of see me do this a couple of times, you'll kind of get the hang of it. It is going to be a game of push and pull. We play this game a lot when we paint. We lay down the color, we lay it down, and it seems like it's too much, but just hold out. Just keep layering, okay? And it will evolve. If you look closely at this, you can see this is just a lot of layers, okay? So just bear with me. It's going to seem like a lot at first. I think the color is going to be really bold, but it's going to come through, okay? All right, so I'm going to be using the thin side of my brush, okay, for most of this, but you can turn back and forth how your wrist wants to. I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to be very open and just loose and streak in some of this blue. I just started to streak it in and I'm kind of coming this way. I want the movement to be out this way. I'm going to put in some blue kind of heavier down here. I'm doing more smaller streaks. Let me get my palette over here. I'm doing shorter streaks down in here. Okay, so a little bit of blue. I'm going to carry it over to the bottom and to the side there. Pull this over. A little bit in the front here. Maybe a little bit here. Some up here. Okay, I'm going to do even just a little bit lighter just because get some variation in there. A little white to my blue. Okay, I'm really just laying in anywhere I think there might be. I might mount a little bit of blue. Okay. Okay, I'm wiping the blue off on my paper towel. I'm not washing my brush. I'm just dabbing my brush onto my paper towel just to get all the chunks of paint, right? So I still have blue on my brush, but it's not gonna be enough to show up in my paint next. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of purple. Now, just a reminder, when we pick up a color, I just started kind of moving this purple around. That's called activating the paint. I'm activating this purple. It reminds me, it's pretty transparent. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of white and bring it over just to kind of get it going. Okay, that's better. It's a little more chalky. You see the difference there? Okay. We don't need a ton of purple. Unless you love purple, then by all means, paint a purple rooster, right? All right, I'm gonna put in a little bit in the front here. Just lightly kind of streak it in. A little bit down here. I'm being so very quick and a little bit back here. That's it for my purple. Maybe a little more down there. Now I am gonna wash my brush. I do wanna get all of that purple and blue off of my brush completely because we're gonna work with yellow next. Yellow and purple are complements on a color wheel, which means they're opposites, and when you mix them together, even you have a tiny hint of purple, you start mixing it in with your yellow, it will make mud, it will make a murky color, and we want vibrancy, okay? Okay, so I have a clean brush. I'm gonna take a little white and mix it with my yellow, just a little bit of white, and I'm just gonna lay in this yellow quick. Now the thing about yellow, like I said, when you start to mix it with other colors, especially cool colors, which is what we have on our rooster right now, it's gonna start to make mud. So be very thoughtful with where you apply this yellow paint. For example, I'm gonna put it down and leave it. I'm not gonna keep stroking and just blending. I'm gonna put it down, I'm gonna be nice and bold. Right there, bam, that big yellow bold streak right down the middle. A little bit right up in here, and I might just throw one right back there on that blue, okay? That's what I got. Okay, now I'm gonna show you where we are and where we're going. Okay, so you can probably guess that the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take that red brown that base color that we used first on our rooster. And we're gonna start blending some of this in. So I'm gonna wash my brush again. This is a lot of work. Now you can see why I don't like washing my brush that often, and I always tell you, oh, just mix the color. Oh, just dab it on your paper towel. Okay. No water, no paint on my brush. I'm gonna go right back into that red brown mixed with white. Okay, pretty light color here. It's not dark at all. So I'm gonna take the thin side of my brush. Now watch kind of how I do this, and then y'all kind of just go at it, okay? I'm gonna kind of start coming in here, and I'm gonna lightly start kind of painting over what I just painted. I'm gonna start kind of tucking away some of this color. I'm just tucking away some of it and breaking it up. You see how that's happening? I'm just breaking up that color. But be purposeful. You want big, bold streaks of color to come through. So this is gonna be a game. Push and pull, right? So see how light all of that is? I'm gonna go into just some straight red brown. It's a burnt sienna. I just call it red brown, just my straight red brown color. And I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna just streak it right towards the front here. You're really bold with that. Come right in here, a little bit back here. Okay. Okay, so now I have that in. I'm gonna go back to my light red brown and see I'm pushing and pulling. I'm gonna put that on top of it. See how I'm just breaking up that color. That's what I want you to do. Go back and forth, you guys. Now I'm gonna wash my brush off and I'm just gonna go back to my blues and my purples, okay? So that's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to your blues and purples, then blend in more red brown, blend in whatever colors you want to really show through. See, I put in a little bit too much here, so I'm just gonna lightly streak in a little bit here. Just gonna kind of play with this. This is something you could do forever. So eventually I'm gonna have to stop you, but you can really just play with the feathers as much as you want. Adding as much or as little color. But I do want to warn you, you know, there is a point when, and you'll probably realize it, when you're gonna start to kind of overblend and you might start to get a little bit of mud within your feathers. Now, if that starts to happen, I really just recommend putting your brush in your water and just giving yourself a break. Let your paint start to dry a little bit and then go back at it, okay? You don't want mud. You want individual paint strokes, brush strokes that are gonna start to form and look like feathers. And you'll notice as you start doing this and evolving, your brush strokes should start getting lighter and lighter. And what I mean by that is not pressing so hard on the canvas to where you're being heavy-handed. Think light thoughts. Be light as a feather. See what I did there? You want to think light thoughts. Just really gently just let your brush just fall and pull across the top of the canvas, okay? I'm gonna draw your attention to two sections of our rooster. So while you're painting all of these colors, okay, there is a section right here towards the top where it's coming down, the feathers are coming down the side, kind of the throat area, but more, you know, off to the side here, where there's just some light, almost white red brown here that's just being kind of pulled quickly right down there, okay? That's one of the last things you're gonna do when you have all your feathers beautiful the way you like them. I'll do this too, but I just wanted to draw your attention to this area. The other area I wanted to draw is right here. There's an indication that there's a wing here, okay? It's gonna change a little bit. So you see that blue kind of peeking out? Okay, so what I want you to do when you get really close to being done, like where I am right now, I feel like I'm pretty close to being done. I like the way my colors are folding. I'm gonna take this red brown really light. I'm gonna kind of just look here, and I'm just gonna give myself a wing line. Kind of sticks out, right? But then I'm gonna take it and I'm just gonna start to fold all my other lines up here this way, okay? Got a little dark color. Okay, that blue is starting to peek out. That's what we want. You can be as choppy as you want down there, whatever your style is. Okay, I'm gonna throw in a little more color here. All right, so you guys work this. Remember, if you're getting muddy, let your paint dry. And then go back at it. To me, it's kind of one of those things you could really just keep working at forever. But if you see something that you like, I recommend stopping and let it be, because there is a such thing as overworking. You don't want to overwork.
So is that primarily white that you're using right there?
It's very, very light red-brown.
Okay.
So
Okay,
I'm really picking up, I'll show you my palette so you can really see. Where am I? See right in here? It's just so very marbled, but it is super light. Super, super, super light. But you could use just white because your paint is so wet. Inevitably, it will blend into those perfect shades for you. It'll just kind of go for you. I'm kind of getting to a point, I think I'm going to add a little more yellow here. I really covered up my yellow. I want that to be there, nice and bold. I'm getting to a point here where I'm going to put in that brighter area, that white-ish area. Okay, so right in here, I'm going to kind of pull down. And I'm really flicking my wrist here. I'm just pulling down, outward and down. And this is very bright. So I am still using very, very light red brown, but you could just use white here too. I'm using the thin side of my brush, kind of coming up on the head up here also, pulling down. Okay, my back is nice and bright. Okay, so if your back is not nice and bright, you want this back part to be nice and bright. So run some lightness back there. I'm gonna run a little bit of lightness on the front of the belly up here too. And then pull your canvas back from you and look at it. See it for what it is. It's hard to see what you're doing when it's sitting right up on top of you. Okay? Pull it back. See where there's not enough color or too much color, okay? See where you could add some thinner, smaller feathers in some areas that are large and chunky. And you can get thinner by turning to the side of your brush that's thin, right? And pressing lightly, super light. Okay, I'm barely touching the canvas, just wisping. Okay. I think I need a little more purple. Keeps disappearing. That's pretty. All right, guys, I'm gonna let y'all work on this. It's only 7:55, but I think now is a really great time to take a break because I feel like this is something that you might want a little more time to work on and just kind of let evolve. So we'll come back at around 8 o'clock. So you've got 5 whole minutes without me talking to you. And you can just kind of work on these feathers, and I will just put this painting up in the front here so that you can see it. Let me get this up on a book a little better. You can see it for what it is. Okay, see all those feathers. Let's see here. Okay, and I'll come back, and if y'all have any questions or anything, y'all just let me know and we'll work it out. If you want to send me a picture in Messenger, I can check and I can see how you're doing and give you some pointers, or just show me when we come back. I'm happy to be another pair of eyes for you. Okay. All right, guys, so there you go. There's your feathers. You can kind of see them. Okay. All right, you guys, how is everybody doing? Okay? Is it evolving the way you want it to evolve? Kind of, sort of? Cool, Vicky. Yeah, nice, bold color. That's beautiful. Okay, just a reminder too, any brushes that you're not using, put them in the water unless they're ones we have not used yet tonight. And give y'all just, oh, cool, Patty. That's really cool, really pretty. The back is is highlighted really nicely. Yeah, nice work, good color, nice balance. Okay. All right, let me stare at this guy for a minute and see what we're gonna do next here, how we're gonna do this. Okay. Okay. All right, you guys. So if you're ready, even if you're not, let's keep going here. Let me get this situated. Let's keep going here. If you feel like you still need to work on the body of your rooster and you still want some of this color to evolve, that's something that you can definitely work on a little bit later. Let's go ahead and develop the head of our rooster. Okay, let me get you guys through this part. And once we have this part completed, you can always go back to the body. Okay, that part we're not going to be painting on over any kind of detail or anything like that. So that's something that you can definitely work on a little bit later. Okay. All right. So we're going to take to our size 4 flat. Okay. And we're going to be working with our red. We're going to work on the comb, the top part of our rooster, this part up here first. We're going to form it, and then we're going to kind of come down to the front. Then we're going to do the scuttle down in here. Okay. Or the waddle. Sorry, scuttle. I make up words sometimes. I'm impressed that I even knew that was a waddle. I don't have chickens. Okay. I know a lot of you guys do though, so I'm trying. All right. So let's see here. I'm going to show you my palette. So once again, I have my size 4. I'm going to grab a good little chunk of white here and bring it over to my red. Okay. I'm going to activate my red. All right, so notice I still have a really nice bold color. It's not, I wouldn't call that a pink yet, right? It's still pretty red. Okay, that's what you want. Nice bold color. Okay. I'm just gonna wipe off just a little bit of this paint on my palette here. I don't want too many gobs on my brush, okay? Okay. Here we go. Here's the fun part. Let's give this rooster some personality, right? So on the comb here, I don't know, maybe you guys know if there's an exact science to how many of these little sticky up things there are on the comb. Mine has 7. Okay. So the 4th one in is like the tallest. So you guys know better. I mean, how it works, you know, if they're all relatively the same size or if they change or how it goes. So paint what you know to be true. Don't copy me if this is not accurate. Okay. This is just, you know, my brain. But I'm going to paint what I see here. Okay. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I have my size 4. I'm going to bring you in nice and close here. I have my size 4 paint on the side of my hand already. Okay, I'm gonna take my brush, and this is the top of my head here, okay? I'm gonna take my brush and just kind of give myself a little red top here. Okay, just painted like a little red line just going across the top. When I get to the back part of the head, not too far down here, right, but just right up in here, I'm going to swoop upwards and out. I'm gonna paint with a much lighter color here so that you can see it on the camera better, okay? I'm gonna paint this a lot lighter. So, because on the green, it doesn't show up that well. Okay, there we go. It's the first part of my comb. Okay, so I'm going to then come down. I might even come out a little bit more here. I'm going to sort of make like these little triangles up here. So there's my first one. We've got one. I've got two. Every one for me is a different size. I don't know if that's actually accurate. This one's gonna kind of be almost more pointed, kind of like a shark's fin. This next one even more so, up, come to a point and down. Let me get more white so you can see that better on camera. So when I'm at that fourth one, I'm in the middle of my head. You see that? So I have 3 more to go. So since I know that I have 3 more to go, I need to fit them here, okay? But there's also this little bump kind of on the front of his head here. Y'all, I don't know, y'all might know what that's called. So I'm gonna just do that part here just for, so that I can paint the rest of my comb here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, see how I did that? Okay. Once you have a shape that looks something like this, you're gonna wanna fill it in. Okay, and I recommend filling it in. You can go ahead and add a little more white to your red and almost make a pink. Okay, that is just fine because it's our first layer in here and we want it to really kind of show up as our underpainting. And when you're painting red on top of green, guess what happens? It's the complement. So of course it's gonna inevitably, it's just gonna make the color darker. Okay, so, but we want brightness, okay? So go ahead, mix a little more white in there. I know I told you not to from the beginning, but go for it. It's actually working out really great. Okay, and I'm filling in this shape that I've drawn, okay? I'm using the thick and the thin side of my brush to fill this in. Okay, being kind of choppy, letting my brush strokes show. Okay, I'm getting this front bump part here. Okay. This guy has a much, I think it's almost a bigger comb than this guy. This guy's gonna be a little more wild. Like I said, I love painting animals, the personalities. Like you just don't get to decide what their personality is going to be like. It decides for you. You just kind of got to go with it. So we're going with it. Okay. I like that I can see some of my green coming through. Okay, it kind of like did some shading for me without me trying. So if you like that, cool. If you don't, then you'll just want to put in another layer. Okay, so that's up to you. I quite like it. But like I said, your call. I'm gonna put a little more in here and there. I'm just kind of smoothing out my edges. Okay. Okay, some of these are pointy, some of these are not, some are going one direction, some are going another direction. And this guy's just all over the place. From what I hear though, personalities of roosters are all over the place. So I hear they're kind of crazy. We were watching, probably shouldn't tell this story, but I'm going to anyway. We were watching our neighbors' animals for them. Why they asked us, I don't know. They must really trust us. But anyway, they were out of town, and my husband Taylor went over to bring the chickens in for the night, and me and the boys were going to go over a little bit afterwards because the sun was setting and they have a trampoline. We're like, we'll just go jump in the trampoline for a few minutes while you're gathering the roosters and the chickens and all the things. And so we get over there, and Taylor is trying so hard to get these chickens to go in, and they just won't. They just, because it's not time yet, the sun hasn't gone down enough or whatever it is. And he's trying so hard, so he starts kind of like hurting them, like using his arms and like kind of hurting them in. And one of my sons goes over with him and starts to just kind of herd them in with them. And then all of a sudden I hear a scream, and I see Taylor scoops up our boy, and they are running across the field, and a rooster is chasing them. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I was like, buddy, that's all you. I don't know what you're gonna do. But it chased him for a while. Like, you're messing with my hens. Get out of here. Eventually, Taylor had to jump on the trampoline and pass off my son to me, and we just hung out on the trampoline until the rooster calmed down. But that was fun. I wish I got a video of that. He probably won't appreciate me telling that story. Anyway, we learned our lesson. We went later in the day, the next day, and they were ready. So, man, finicky animals. Very finicky. All right, I'm clearly a artist, not a farmer. So you guys feel okay about your comb? Or maybe you don't, but we're here, right? We did it. Okay. Okay, well, let's keep moving on with this, okay? I'm gonna take a little bit of white here, and I'm gonna make an even lighter pink, okay? So you don't have to wash your brush, you just want lightness, okay? We're gonna hit a little highlight here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you in closer so that you can see. I'm gonna bring in a little bit of lightness towards the back of this back piece of the comb, okay? And then a little bit on the front of this, the next one's coming up. So this one, I'm just hitting it with just a little bit of lightness all the way, just very thin bits of lightness, okay? All the way to the front, around here, okay? And then while your paint is still wet, I'm just grabbing pure red, just pure red. I haven't done anything to it. And I'm just gonna pull in some pure red here. Okay, on the other side especially. So you're seeing this extreme light and this extreme dark, right? Okay. I'm gonna go all the way here. This guy. Very red. We really want to see this red. This is not pink. This is definitely red. Okay. I'm doing that push and pull thing again. Back and forth. Okay. I think I made my highlight go away a little bit much here. Here. Pull it back in a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right, you guys. So let's carry this around the front here. Okay, I'm gonna come down the front of my rooster's face, and I'm gonna paint about the width of my paintbrush here, the size 4. I'm just gonna come down right here and just pull down. Right there is where my beak is going to go. Okay, so I pulled down the length of my paintbrush. You can kind of see that. The length and the width of the bristles of the brush, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, now we'll make the wattle. And so the way we do that is I'm just gonna kind of just ever so slightly lean outward, not a huge ton, just a little bit here. And I'm gonna hug the side of my rooster here that I've already drawn. And I'm gonna draw a huge teardrop shape here. But you don't wanna come out and be out so far, okay? And at the bottom here, it lifts slightly off of the neck. Okay, and I'm gonna fill that shape in. And I'm filling it in the same way that we did the comb. Okay, I have just that lighter color. And then I'm just going back with a little, okay, bit of red here, making it nice and thick, nice and bold. Okay. I'm gonna turn it to the side just for a second here so I can smooth out my shape. I know my hand is in the way. Okay. So while your paint here is still wet, okay, what I want you to do is grab a little bit of that light pink. We're gonna add a little highlight down here at the bottom. Just a little light hitting it. Okay. I'm gonna add just a little more. Can't get it bright. There we go. Okay, and now this part, I'm gonna wipe off that white off my brush. So I'm just left with having like this pink, reddish pink stain. Okay, now this might feel a little bit funny. What I want you to do is I want you to grab, and I'll show you my palette so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna grab a little bit of green. Okay, I'm gonna bring it over here to my red, and I'm gonna mix so I get a nice, deep, rich red. Green is the complement, so when we add green to red, we get a darker color, okay? So I just want a dark red. If it still looks green to you, add more red. Okay, you should just have a nice, you don't need much of it, just a little. Okay. We're gonna use this color just the tiniest little bit. Okay, it's gonna be right up here towards the top part of the wattle. Okay, and I'm just kind of feathering it in, just lightly. Okay, something like that. I'm gonna wipe that off. I'm not cleaning my brush, I'm just gonna wipe it off. And I'm just gonna pick up some red. It could be your almost pink red. It can be red. It doesn't really matter right here, okay? We're gonna start working on the face. Okay, so we know where our beak is gonna go, okay? We have our wattle, we have our comb, so we're gonna start working in this area right here, okay? Okay, so I have that red on my brush. Now I'm gonna start bringing in some red here, okay? And so this too might be a little bit of a game of push and pull. So don't freak out if you add too much red to this part, it's okay. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of just start bringing in some red. So I'm right in the part here, let me get you even closer so you can see this, because I know my hand is gonna get in the way inevitably. I know my beak is gonna go right here, right where I have this like rectangular shape, okay? So here and like coming upwards, I'm gonna start to kind of feather almost out a little bit of red. I know red is gonna all go in here, all down here. You sort of create this line coming from about a quarter of the way down the wattle, kind of leaning back here. Just a little bit of red. Okay. So I'm gonna put in something that looks kind of like that. Okay, that's not a particular shape. Can you see that? It's just kind of there. Okay. I might even extend this down just a little bit. Okay, that feels a little bit better. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush. I want that red off. However, I'm looking at it a little bit more. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of that dark red that we made with our green. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of that up here just for shading's sake, just to have a little bit of depth here. See how I'm just kind of feathering that in? I'm not really thinking too hard about it. I just kind of put it in as another layer. You see that? Okay, now I'm gonna wash my brush. Okay, and get the water off. Okay, and I'm gonna come in with that very light red brown, very light, almost white. Okay, got it on my brush. I'm gonna sweep it over the front here, kind of like it already is. Okay, but I want it to look like the feathers, the red, brown, the light feathers are sweeping in over this redness. I don't want the redness to look like it's coming over the lightness. Does that make sense? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna come back over this part here and just give it a little bit of a feathered effect here. Just kind of coming right in here, just kind of breaking up this area. Okay, now right here, aligned with the beak, where we haven't put our beak in yet, right in this area, I'm gonna come across without drawing a line, and right where that is, right in here, I'm gonna pull down almost like a cheek with this little bit of a color. Okay, there's just a little bit of a cheek there. Do you see that? And this area right here that's red, I'm gonna wipe off this, and I'm actually gonna grab a little bit of blue. Now you can grab whatever color you want. If you're predominantly purple, grab purple, but I'm gonna grab a little bit of blue, and I'm gonna pull a little bit of blue right in here, just like so. A little bit every which way. Kind of pull it down into these feathers, a little bit right here. Okay, once again, push and pull. I'm gonna grab that color, the light white or red brown, and pull it in there too. okay? I am making this up. Okay, you cannot do this wrong. You just want a little bit of blue up here. There's no wrong way to do it, okay? Okay. Okay. We're done with that brush for the time being. We're gonna pick up our detail brush. And maybe it's a size 1 for you. I'm gonna take, if you don't have it mixed on your palette, use a bigger brush to mix that super light red brown, like almost white, okay? We're gonna draw on our beak, okay? Now you know where your beak goes. Now it's very important that when you draw with this, you are only using the top half of your paintbrush. What I mean by that is when you press down, you should see a bend in the top at the halfway point of your paintbrush, okay? If you are pressing so hard that all of your bristles are bending all the way down to the metal part, you're pressing too hard. We want to be very delicate here, okay? So very delicate. Maybe you're only using the top quarter of your brush, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle coming out from the bottom of my comb to the top of my wattle. And my beak, I'm gonna try to keep it kind of little. Okay, probably smaller than I'd like to. The other thing I'm gonna do is this triangle is not perfectly symmetrical here. Okay, now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna draw a straight line coming from the top of my wattle out. Okay, straight line, and my angled line is gonna be coming from the bottom of my comb and down. Does that make sense? Straight line out from the top of the wattle out, angled line from the comb down. Y'all see that? I'm gonna draw a line coming from that point, kind of angled inward. Not quite dividing it down the middle, right? Because you can't. So this top part now is going to be light. I'm going to fill it in. Okay. Remember, you don't want to be using your entire paintbrush if that makes sense. You really only want the very top part of your bristles to be bent when you're painting. Okay, it's very important you get a nice, perfect, accurate little line there. You can be very detailed there. Now the bottom part of our beak is black. So remember I told you not to get the black out on your palette. You don't need to. You really just need a dot. Okay, and you're gonna fill in this bottom part of the triangle. And go ahead and cover that line also on the bottom. Okay. Bam. Got yourself a beak. I'm gonna work that just a little bit more here real quick. All right, guys, we're getting close. All right, I'm gonna put in my eye. Now the eye is aligned with the beak in that the top of my beak, if I were to draw an invisible line straight over to where my red starts, okay? That's where my eye is gonna be. So the bottom of my eye would be aligned with the top of my beak. if that makes any sense. Bottom of my line, top of my beak. I'm gonna take this black and I'm going to draw a circle. A small circle. And I'm gonna fill it in. Bottom of my eye aligned with about the top of my beak. Well, maybe down even a little bit. This guy is. Okay, but roughly that's about where your area is, okay? Over in your red zone, okay? Okay, now when I painted that circle black, I just used the tiniest bit of paint because I really want that black circle to dry relatively quick, okay? I'm gonna wipe off this black paint, or I'm gonna wash my brush here. I'm gonna get that black paint off. I'm going to get the water off of the metal and the bristles of my brush, but I still want a really nice point, okay? Now you can decide what color eye you want your rooster to have. Our painting has a yellow eye, so I'm gonna take a little bit of white and mix it with my yellow, especially because we are painting over black here. You want a bright color, okay? So I have a little bit of a light yellow here, and I know that my eye is dry. I didn't use hardly any paint, so I know that black is dry, and that's important. All right, now I'm gonna show you the eye here so you can see what I'm talking about when I say it. Okay, let me see how close I can get. Oh, I'm getting close, look at that. All right, so check that out. The yellow goes around the outside of the eye, but you see how it's thicker on the side towards the beak? And it's thinner as it gets towards the top of the head, right? And then there's a little black line that comes over the top there, kind of just like the socket, right? Okay, so the way I'm gonna do that, now that I've shown it to you, is I have this nice black circle, and I have a nice point on my brush, and I have yellow. I'm gonna take this yellow and I'm gonna line the outside, starting on the beak side, out my circle. My circle is my map for my eye. I'm gonna come all the way around. Now the yellow goes all the way around, right? Except for there's this little part where the black peeps through at the top. And now if you go all the way around with yellow, cool. All you need to do is go back with a little bit of a black line over the top, if you even want that, okay? That's such a tiny little detail. It's your call. Okay. Yellow all the way around. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off that yellow. Grab a little more black here. So you can go back and forth. I'm gonna round out the inner part of my eye again because it got a little bit funky when I was adding in my yellow. Okay. Then I'm gonna go right across the top of the eye here and just give it the thinnest, tiniest little black line that I ever can. Okay. There we go. Kind of, sort of. So at this point, we did it, y'all. Super proud of you. But I want you to take a look back, get some perspective, okay? Because now your face is in and you can really see him for who he is. Now you can take more paint and you can, like for me, I might bring this up a little bit more, bring in a little bit more blue, a little more color, feather out a little bit, you know? Now you can kind of see where everything is, where everything lies, and you can adjust accordingly, okay? So what I'm gonna do, and you may or may not need to do this, it's totally up to you. I'm gonna add in a little more darkness over here, okay? I'm gonna break this up, let's see. There is a little bit more of a detail here. So if you want, you can use your detail brush, or I jumped up to my 4. Right under my eye, I'm using a little bit of white or super light brown. I'm gonna come behind the eye a little bit, and then I'm gonna angle downward, just like so. Do y'all see that shape? I don't know how to use my words to describe that shape. Like a slide. It's like a slide shape. Okay. That's what's going to make the face. That is the final part that really makes the face. All right, now you can go in, add a little bit of white here and there. I'm going to add in a little bit of white up here. Okay. I'm going to go back over my beak just a little bit. Pull it out, just add a little bit of brightness there. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to show you. This guy's comb is crazy. Look at him, man. Tonight's painting and then the original painting so that you can see the personalities and how different they are, but yet I'm the same painter, just a different night. One's a little more colorful. One's comb is a little crazier. Cool. Wow, this is like record time. That's great. It's 8:40, hardly. When have we ever finished a class 20 minutes early? Usually we're 20 minutes late. That's amazing. All right, well, it looks like you guys are still working. Awesome, Christina. So great. Look at that personality. He's fantastic. He almost needs like a bow tie. Like he just looks like a crazy like professor. Like he needs a bow tie. That's awesome. Oh, Vicky, so great. That comb is wild. That is so great. And look at that yellow coming in those feathers. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I love the personality. I love it. I love it. You guys know what I'm going to say. Please send me a final photo of your completed painting and process shots if you took them as well. I love that kind of stuff. But I really want to see how it turned out for you. And if you have any problem areas, send me a picture of the problem area also, whatever that is, and I can help you kind of troubleshoot if you're having a hard time with the eye or an angle or something or whatever it is, shading. Just send me a picture of that area too, and I'm happy to work that through with you. I'm going to be here at the shop for a while working, so I'll check Messenger and see your progress. Oh, Patty, awesome. Yes. A little more reserved than Christina's. He almost needs like spectacles, you know. It's super awesome. So cool. So go ahead and wash your brushes for me. It's very simple. Just rinse them under warm water and just lay them on a paper towel to dry. You don't need to use soaps or anything like that. Just make sure that you rinse all of the water out of them. Or I'm sorry, all of the paint out of them, okay? So they run clear under that water. That would be really great. And two, like I said, just send me that final photo of your painting. I'm super proud of you guys. You guys did great. You stuck with me, and it looks like there's a lot of personality shining through, so that's really great. I'm really excited to see all of that stuff. And if you guys have any questions about future classes or anything like that, you can ask me. I probably don't know the answer. I don't know what we're going to paint next week. I'm not there yet. I might figure it out tonight. I'm going to take a break pretty soon, whether it's going to be next week or the week after. We haven't quite figured that out yet with our calendar yet, but it is coming. Just a 1 week break, so it might be next week since I don't know what we're doing yet. But I don't know. I might find something. But anyway, if you guys have any suggestions for painting, send that my way. Y'all know the drill. And if anybody needs the recording here tonight, please let me know. I'm more than happy to send it to you. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, thank you again for joining me tonight. Thank you for supporting us. We appreciate it so much. I love hanging out with you guys on Wednesdays, and I hope you guys have an awesome night. See you later.